Ioka's Forge, a desert world with a secret, long forgotten by many. Forge World Xerxes, travelling through the system, intercept a bizarre signal. Their scouting force deploys to the surface, but is immediately set upon by powerful sorcery and magic. The Thousand Sons, led by Ahriman himself, are hunting for the Lomanius Crystal, a powerful relic capable of altering minds and memories. Battle is soon joined on the dusty plains, but who will recover the relic? Hi there everyone, Chris from 6++ here. Zaylee and I will be taking you through this festive 2000 point Strike Force battle set on the desert world Ioka's Forge.
Hi everyone, and season's greetings.
The Admech have all but vanished from the top tables since the balance update, and so lists are having to take on new directions. Thousand Sons are seeing some success at events, and so today we'll be finding out if they have enough mortal wounds in the tank to take on the firepower that the Admech can bring to bear. Thoughts on the matchup, Lee?
Admech are no joke. I'm hoping to dish out a brain freeze.
Wow. Let's move swiftly on and take a look at the lists. Admech at their peak fully embraced the Alpha Strike with all the planes. However, they now can no longer do that, and so the list design process has really changed. This particular list still has the durability of Lucius and the output of Mars, but also tries to include a variety of utility pieces too. In terms of shooting, the list covers both anti-horde and anti-tank. There are 12 las cannon shots with multiple potential rerolls, then the Rangers and Vanguard can dish out an unholy amount of shots. However, their effectiveness is diminished somewhat today due to the Rubrics and Terminators getting +1 save against the 1 damage weaponry. The combat comes from the Rust Stalkers and Priests, who both can put out mortal wounds. The Priests also have a fight last stratagem, which can come in clutch in many situations. As mentioned, there are a number of utility pieces too. 3 5-man units help to grab objectives or do actions. 2 3-man Cerberus units screen and tag. And then the infiltrators can fulfill a variety of roles, depending on the matchup. The larger unit have a fight last relic to make them much harder to shift. What's looking key in your list today, Lee?
Any good Thousand Sons list relies heavily on its ability to dish out mortal wounds, but there are more tricks that meet the eye when it comes to the favoured exchange. Whilst delivering a healthy salvo of mortal wounds, I've designed this list to be able to take and deliver a punch without needing to overextend, and having plenty of solid secondary opportunities, especially if my opponent has a Psyker, which today unfortunately they don't. Leading the mortal wound parade is Ahriman, whose function in the list is to zip around the table and deliver them wherever they're most needed. The extra movement provided by the disc really helps to offset the lack of mobility in the army. In this list, the Terminators are essential. They provide a tremendous amount of firepower and can be reasonably durable, especially now that they have objectives secure. My unit of Rubrics will also all have Temporal Surge, essentially a renamed warp time to allow them to move to where they need to be. As the army struggles with mobility, today I'm running a single battalion of Duplicity. This means I can teleport 1 unit per turn in the psychic phase, but also allows me to redeploy units, which can also help to make up for their lack of speed.
Sounds pretty terrifying. Well, today we are running one of the new spoiled missions from Chapter Approved 22 called Recover the Relic. In this match, players will score 4 points, not 5, for holding 1 objective, 8 points for holding 2 objectives, and it's now 12 points for holding more than your opponent. On top of this, players can also score up to 3 points a battle round for each enemy unit destroyed. Secondaries always shape how the game is played, so what have you gone for today, Lee?
I've gone for Raise the Banners, Psychic Interrogation, and To the Last. There are 3 objectives in my hand for the board, so that should guarantee me a good score for banners, and Psychic Interrogation in the new rules doesn't require line of sight, which makes it far more enticing than it was before. My final choice was tricky, but I've gone for To the Last, as if most of a unit dies, I can hopefully hide the remaining bodies, and the units themselves are pretty resilient.
That's great. I have gone for Deploy Teleport Homers, Abhor the Witch, and To the Last. Although this mission lends itself nicely to banners, I wanted to give the reworked Homers a go, as I only have to be in Lee's half of the board and do the action with one of my troop units to score 4 points. Abhor isn't always an auto take against Thousand Sons, but Lee does have enough 5-mans for me to score a reasonable amount of points there. Like Lee, the final pick was hard, so I also went for To the Last, which is my 2 big blobs of troops and then also one of my las chicken pens. It's now time to head down to the battlefield and check out the deployment of the armies. But before we do, if you are enjoying the content, please do give us a like and a subscribe, as it really does help. Here we are on the dusty plains. The forces have deployed. Lee, what's the game plan?
Well, with deployment, what I've done is I've tried to keep a nice central block here in the middle where all my sort of power units are. I'm not, like I said in the intro, I don't want to be overextending, so to sort of have everything nicely together, nice and compact, works for the game plan. I have, however, pushed a few of the rubric squads up. I used the forward deploy, the Risen Rubrici strat, to push 5 of them forward, just to create a bit of a hassle if I do go first. If not, then I can redeploy with my Warlord trait. Other than that, I've got the heavy hitters, like I said, the 2 Contemptors here on the back. They're not going to be in range of stuff because of the way the board's set out. Well, that's not true. The range is fine, but they won't have the line of sight. So it's going to be a case of absorbing and trying to score points.
Very nice, very nice. On the AdMech side, obviously I have to be really aware that Lee can redeploy kind of a lot of his stuff. Also, he can teleport. He's also got 10 rubrics in reserve, so I've got to be aware of that all the time. So I've kind of got this group 5-man here just to block off any deep strike into the back corner. I've got my Vanguard here. I've got the infiltrators up there. And then over here I've got some kind of like some combat threats on this side. I've got the destructive ranger blob in the middle, just going to bide their time and see what presents itself. Then I've also got all of the last chickens as well. I think this game, it feels very much like no one's going to want to stick their noses out. So we could be like, oh, we're on turn 3, I should probably do something. One specific thing for this new mission is you only get your CP if you hold one of the middle objectives in no man's land. But that doesn't matter so much because I've infiltrated. But yeah, we'll kind of see how that goes. We're both touching the objectives, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it's now time for the roll-off. Coming up next, all-important roll-off. Lee, would you like to go first?
I don't think that I would.
Okay, I have literally no idea. Yeah. So we're going to let the dice gods decide. Here we are. As you are the guest, you may roll first.
Oh, no.
That's a big roll, Lee.
I've gone huge.
Well, I'm going to roll...
Oh, hello.
Oh, here we go.
You get another chance.
Whoa. Go on, sir.
Oh, I've done the opposite. There it is. I saw the one. Yeah.
So, AdMech first turn. We'll do the redeploys, do the pre-games, and then we'll come back with turn 1 movement phase for AdMech up next. Beep boop. The signals are sent, and the troops of the Adeptus Mechanicus march forth across the dusty plains. Movement phase is complete for the Adeptus Mechanicus, and now you can see that not really much has moved. These poor chappies here have run forward to get me 4 points for deploy teleport homers. First time I've ever used that, that's exciting. Vanguard, they're the ones with all the defensive buffs, just in case, but nothing's getting shot at this turn, no, in Lee's turn really. I have positioned these 2 here so they can send some downstream shots to those rubrics over there and can't be hit by a Contemptor firing back. I guess the most exciting stuff is over here where there's a big ball of just death everywhere. Of course you can't hide all of it. We were talking about realistically Lee's only move if he wants to do anything in for his turn is put his Terminators, cast a spell, put them in that corner and shoot down here and kill some stuff. I can't be helped. Sacrifices are made for the Omnisire. Not much shooting to do, just the las can chickens, and we'll come back with that next. These las cannon chickens are lining up a full length range shot downwind into the rubrics. It's 4 shots, Lee. And we are hitting on 3s with 1 reroll.
Didn't help.
3 hits, wounding on 2s. 3 invulnerable saves. That's 3 dead rubrics.
Sure is.
And that is the turn complete. What an exciting first turn it was for the AdMech. the Dune Rider did do some pot shots, but nothing happened, because obviously not. So yeah, now we await the Thousand Suns fight back. Coming up next, we must recover that relic. Terminators, do your thing. The Thousand Suns have begun marching forth. Lee, what is the plan?
So the plan this time was to, I guess with a view on secondaries, was to move my Exalted Sorcerer forward. So he's my Warlord, so has a 3d6 for casting Psychic actions to get the Marshal over there, and then ideally walk time back to safety.
Nice.
Otherwise, I've brought up the Spawn here to try and clean out these Infiltrators.
Not going to happen, but whatever.
I have to remember that there's primary points now for killing units. So if I can kill them, that's a point.
Sure.
Other than that, nothing else has changed too much. These rubrics have tried to shore up this objective, and I've moved this Contemptor out just to get an eye on those guys as well, just in case the Spawn don't do it. They're quite hit and miss. They'll either absolutely annihilate something, or they don't do anything.
Yeah.
Then I've moved Araman to this corner, with the goal of, as you picked out in the last round, jumping the Terminators across here in the Psychic phase into unleashing fire. Just to weaken this flank. It does feel like the stronger flank.
Yep.
So I need to match it with my own strength, and if I can get rid of some of that stuff, then that would be really, really helpful.
Sounds good to me. Well, we won't film the Psychic phase. We'll just come back with what excitement happened next. Psychic phase is complete. Lee, quickly, what happened?
So what happened in Psychic phase was I did move the Terminators over here. That was just so I could actually get some shots and try and thin this side of the board. I was able to move and do the Psychic Ritual from my Exalted Sorcerer, and then fall it all the way back using Temporal Surge from another unit, which is great. Other than that, some buffs on the Terminator, so they're now -1 to hit, and they are 4 up invuln, so they're a little bit more survivable depending on what happens to them. They're also +1 to hit, which will help with the upcoming shooting. That was kind of it for the Psychic phase. We did then move into some shooting.
Yeah.
So the first bit of shooting we did off camera, didn't feel like it was that relevant. Was this Contemptor just killed 3 of those Infiltrators there to soften up for the Spawn.
See, and now it's the big one. It's the Terminators firing into a multitude of things, and we'll be back with that next. Terminators unleash into the tank first of all. So we've got 4 missile shots hitting on 2s, rerolling 1s.
And then because they're strength 8, I'm going to get +1 to wound because I used the new Veterans of the Long War.
Yeah.
So look at 2s again. It is all 4, AP2 and D3 damage.
5 up arm saves. 2 D3 damage. For 5. Soul Reaper cannons into the horses. 9 hits, now wounding on 2s. 7 5 up invulnerables. Now it's the Terminator bolter shots into the poor Infiltrators. So we've got 40 shots, 2s rerolling 1s. 38 hits, wounding on 2s. The first batch of 35 up invulnerables. These all need to be 5 ups because I've got 1 wound remaining. Oh, it's not happened. Into the combat phase we go. And these 2 poor Infiltrators are about to try and withstand 21 attacks because on their random chart, Lee rolled 3d3 and then rolled some tasty attacks.
Yeah, 21's the best they've ever done.
Yeah, so 21 attacks hitting on 4s. 11 hits, wounding on 3s. A lot of 5 up invulnerables needed. No. So round 1 is complete. First blood definitely goes to the Thousand Suns. They've removed 2 units, which is all of the Infiltrators, and the Terminators are still relatively safe over there in the corner as well. Don't forget there's still 10 rubrics to deep strike down as well. So Lee, happy with your turn?
I'm medium happy, so I feel like I did well to get rid of a couple of units. I feel like it was painful not to get rid of 1 or 2 more.
Yeah.
But I still probably did better than I thought at the start of the turn. The only downside for me is now the Terminators are a little bit exposed. I think it's really cat and mouse with them, but we'll have to see if I've done enough by buffing them in that. With the -1 there to hit and the 4 pinball.
We'll see how that goes as we move into battle round 2. Beep beep. Target acquired. Into the AdMech turn 2 we go, and lots of problems being posed by the Thousand Suns. I spoke to Lee about how my Rostalkers were going to go in and kill a load of Terminators. And I did the maths and realised that probably 2, maybe 3 die, and that's a terrible mistake. Because then obviously they all die. So I've had to use my solar flare. The Rangers are down. They're going to be hitting on 3s because I've put them to 2s, and the Terminators are -1. Don't get any rerolls. I'm going to give them 60 shots, and we're going to see how many 3-ups Lee can fail. Other than that, we've got the last chickens over here, and they're going to try and take care of the Contemptor, because why not? These spawn are really annoying. Now, obviously the spawn should be dead, because the infiltrators that I was doing scramblers with, or Homer with, which I thought you could do, in fact you can't do, that was a waste. That was a waste. That wasn't...
Well, you can, but the rules now is that only troops units complete it in the same turn.
Yes, exactly.
Not infantry, which they are. We maybe got a little bit confused.
Yeah, I just got the troops and infantry thing confused. So therefore they're dead, so I didn't score that 4 points. And yes, that's quite a big mistake, because now the spawn are going to be a nuisance. So the horses are going to try their best to kill 1 or 2 before the horses die. I was tempted to use the Vanguard to move them out just to here, just to shoot in, but then Lee would have deployed his 10 Rubric Marines into this corner here and killed all my Vanguard, so, well, lots of them. So that didn't seem like a good idea. Didn't seem a great trade, no, shall we say. And then over here we've just all pushed forward. I am teleport homing over there with those 5, so that does mean I will score the 4 points now, finally. Woohoo. Other than that is the rather crucial, it feels, shooting phase coming up next. Into the shooting phase we have gone. The Cerberus Raiders have killed 1 spawn with lots of mortal wounds and stuff, and now we are doing unit number 1. 4 shots, Lee, hitting on 2s with 2 rerolls. 1 for my Canticle, and 1 because I'm Mars.
I don't reckon you'll need them. No, you will need 1.
Excellent. That is efficiency. And then I'm wounding you on 3s with 1 reroll. Don't need it. You have 3 invulnerables.
3 5 invulns.
Let's see the damage. I get my damage reroll. Can I roll a 5 or 6 to kill it? No, he's left on 1 wound. God damn it. Can the final pair do the job? You would hope so. Use the reroll. And then 3s with a reroll. No, that's what I should have done last time.
All of the 5-up invulns.
All of the 5-up invulns. That's not all of the 5-up invulns. That's a lot of damage.
There's nothing around to explode, unfortunately.
No, so he is dead. We now try and do some nasty stuff to these Terminators. Last cannons first of all. 3s with 2 rerolls. That's not a great start. That's not great, Lee.
It's not great.
1 2. Okay, that's
4 invuln, which I do fail.
Okay, so that's 1 Terminator dead. Now it's the time of these guys with their 60 shots. 22 saves after all of that. 3-ups, off we go. There is still a lot of Terminators left, which is less than ideal. Only 2 dying from 60 Ranger shots. Those rerolls and that -1 to hit making a big difference there. Last time Lee and I played in the tournament, like 9 died, with a mix of good rolling, bad rolling from Lee. So you can see that's quite a huge difference. So now it's going to come to the combat, and this boat is going to declare both of these 2. Would you like to overwatch?
No, I would not.
A 7. We roll a 7. So he would go in and tag both of them. So these guys will then charge in there, and we need a 7 again. Get a 7.
Hey.
Efficiency. It is the Omnissiah's way. Right. The turn's not going to plan, so we need a bit of luck, boys. Spend CP to give them an extra attack. Can't get everyone in, so it's 21 attacks. Hitting on 3s, because they're ignoring the negative effect from the Doctrina. Wounding on 3s with 6s, doing mortals in addition. 3 mortal wounds and 8 4-up invulnerables. A pretty poor turn has just got worse because the spawn over here have just managed to kill all 3 Cerberus Raiders with some interesting dice rolling. didn't want to make any saves today, it's
No.
fine. So now Lee's about to compile the misery and kill all the Raw Stalkers, probably.
Probably. Remember, I am still hitting on 2s, so I'm still rerolling my 1s.
Yeah, great. I'm so happy about this.
So we'll go with the swords first into the Raw Stalkers, then separately we'll do the staff from the champion.
Sounds good.
Here we go. So it's 12 attacks.
11 hits, wounding on 3s. Oh boy, this isn't looking good. 5 up invulnerables. You guys suck. This tank is now dead. Lee did his best to not kill it.
Tried my best.
But unfortunately got 1d3 damage through because he actually heroically intervened over here. And this guy completely whiffed.
Yeah, he did.
And this guy, this aspiring sorcerer, he showed you how it's done. So this is now dead. I'm going to use my Manipulous Logi ability to auto-explode it for free. So, you poxy terminators...
You're going to finally get rid of that one, aren't you?
Take just the one. Can't have nice things. These guys take 2.
That will kill
so 1 dies. My poor chaps here lose 1. We'll take that. This guy here who whiffed, he's going to take 3. Nope, just 2. Arrowman, who everyone hates unless you're a 1000 Suns player, just takes 1. And then the final rubric squad here, take 2. So with that, Admech turn is complete. If I planned the turn to go badly, it couldn't have gone much worse. Some Terminators are dead and Lee now has to make a decision on what to do. But it doesn't feel great, Admech fans. This does not feel great. But we'll see what Lee can do and see how far he can pull away in his turn 2. Coming up next. The Raiders are dead. Secure forward positions. Okay, moving in 2000 Suns turn 2 here, and obviously we didn't really make a big deal out of it at the time. The Cerberus Raiders here died because they failed all their saves, and I was like, oh, that's quite annoying. But what is allowed? Ta-da! These Rubric Marines to deep strike down here, which they wouldn't have been able to do previously. Actually a really big moment, because these guys have no defensive buffs on them. Put all the defensive buffs on the Rangers over there, because they were the ones who were in danger. These guys were screened out, and all of a sudden they're not. So this is actually a really big moment. Lee, what else have you done in this turn?
So just to double down, brought the rubrics in on that side, just made sense to do that. The other things that I've done is, I couldn't decide what to do with these Terminators. I denied for a long time, but obviously they were to the last unit, so I didn't want them to be shot. So what I've done is just advanced them out of the way, so they're now obscured by most of this. So anything wanting to shoot them has got to, maybe won't get to it next turn, probably got a turn to maybe try and bring one back. Otherwise I brought some buffs across to the Contemptor here, so I'm going to try and take on Chris's to the last chickens over there to try and maybe get rid of those. Otherwise, it's a case of positioning myself for Psychic Ritual.
Cool. So yeah, we'll do our Psychic, or his Psychic powers, and then we'll come back in the shooting phase. Psychic phase went off without a hitch, buffs were put in place, no Terminators were brought back. We're now into the shooting phase, and he's going to start off with the Contemptor, and he's going into my to the last lad's chicken. So he's buffed, so he's +1 to hit, which will negate the dense cover, and he's also +1 strength, so he'll be wounding on 3s, and he's also got an AP on there as well.
1000 Suns Contemptor is very nice that way.
They are very tasty.
So 3s are rolling 1s.
14 hits, wounding on 3s. So yes, that was 5 mortal wounds from the Contemptor. Don't we all love Volkites? And that's 10 4-up saves for me. It's not looking good, Lee. Right, I'm going to CP reroll this. I need a 4. It's made.
We'll go straight into the missiles then. So 3s are rolling 1s. I'm tempted to see it myself now.
Squeaky bum time. This is a to the last unit. This is why we're
I will CP it.
ACP rerolling it? Oh no, I can't reroll that, sir.
No.
Wounding on a 3.
Is a wound.
-2.
-3.
-3. I need a 6 up to keep him alive. Oh.
saw it.
So you need to not roll a 1 on your d6 damage. Oh, damn it. Well, that's quite big because that's to the last unit gone. Well, that didn't quite go according to plan. Those 2 chickens probably shouldn't have died. But now Lee's going to try and compile the misery onto these Vanguard. 30 shots, hitting on 3s. 23 hits, wounding on 3s. 18 6-up saves. 16 dead Vanguard hurts quite a lot, Lee. So yeah, as we said earlier, you could see how important those raiders are now in hindsight. I wish I hadn't charged them, but you know, I didn't expect them to die, so there you go. Then since then, what else has happened? These guys came in here and shot and killed 4 of the rangers there, and then kind of just went. Well, yeah, 4 died, so I've auto passed morale to keep him alive because he can come across here and teleport home next turn. And then these 4 killed the guys on this objective because obviously they would do that. So the only thing left is morale for the Vanguard over in the far corner. So I need to roll a 1, otherwise they fail. Rolled a 5, Lee. It's not great. So that means 1 run, and I've now got 3 1s and 2s.
Yeah, they're okay.
They're okay. They're brave boys. So I now get to feel the full power of 3 Vanguard over there. Yeah, you should be quaking, sir.
I am.
So how do you feel your turn went, sir?
It was really weird. It was a really weird turn. I was saying to Chris off camera, no expectation that those 2 large chickens would die.
No, nor did I. I was like, I'll be fine.
So that's really great. And also just reduces some Chris's killing power, which is good. Overall, I consider it a good turn, but I still feel like I could get walloped.
Yeah, that's because you always feel like that against Admech. But no, like
I'm scarred. The scars run deep.
The scars do run deep. What we were saying is that actually a lot of this matchup is if Lee can get his psychic powers off regularly, the mortal wounds, that's huge. He hasn't had that chance yet, but that becomes more important as I have to get closer to him. But it's more about how my Ranger blob can interact with his blob and then his rubrics and terminators. So when we played in the past, I've managed to leverage like all my shooting to terminators, deal with them, and then hopefully try and deal with the others. Whereas in this case, my rangers haven't really done much to the terminators, so those terminators could still be a nuisance. And he struck and destroyed my Vanguard with the rubrics, so I've now lost a lot of my ability to deal with those rubrics. So that's really painful. And so that's put him on the front foot. So yeah, just keep going back to it. Those them being able to drop down there is really big. So there's lots of issues for the Admech now as we go into battle round 3. Beep boop, flank protocol engaged. There are a whole host of problems for Admech right now, coming in the form of blue and gold. Really hard to know what to do now. Lots of the killing power's gone, and the rubrics are kind of taken over all parts of the board. So I spent a lot of thinking time about, do I try and kill these 10 rubrics, which I worked out I'd probably kill about half, or do I try and finish off the Terminators? I'm going to try and get lucky and kill the Terminators, because that is to the last, and then I can hopefully turn my attention to the rubrics at a later date with 2 turns remaining. So, you know, we're still playing guys. Shooting wise, let's kick off with these last chickens. We're going to try shoot over there and finish off the 2 guys and get therefore my first abhor of the game. This is why I said at the beginning it's not a great choice in some matchups. Last time Lee and I played, I would have scored quite a few, so that's why I chose it again, but it's not gone well this time. But anyway, hitting on 3s with 1 Mars reroll. Wounding on 2s. 3 invulnerables.
Keep the camera rolling for a little bit longer. I want them to really see this.
God, I hate you, Lee. Well, that was upsetting, and now the Rangers are going to try and get lucky and kill those Terminators. Last time it was 21 saves after hitting on 3s with no rerolls. This time hitting on 4s with rerolls of 1 to hit and wound, it's 17. So, off we go, 17 3-up saves.
One's dead.
Now I've got the Laz chickens over there in, and they're -1 to hit. So we're hitting on 4s with 1 Mars reroll. Oh, come on, boys. 2 hits. Wounding on 2s. If you could just fail both of these, Lee, it'd make me feel better.
I did. So we'll kill 2.
Great, 1's left alive. Excellent. That's exactly what I wanted on a to the last unit.
There's nothing left either, is there?
Which can't fail morale. That is ideal. That's.
What about Hilgo next?
That is excellent. I think there's a little place where he might be hiding next turn. Oh, that's sad. Okay, we'll just tie up any loose ends and then we'll come back in the fight phase. The Vanguard thought they'd have a last hurrah before they were brutally cut down, and the Spawn said no. They're rolling quite well on their saves.
Incredibly well.
Yeah, doing quite well on their saves today. But
Never been done.
The Electro Priests are going to go in and they're going to beat up some rubrics. And if this fails, then 6++ is done. I don't mean that. Right, so we have our Voltgeist Blast. 6s on the charge, do a mortal wound.
Mortal wound.
1 mortal wound. 20 attacks, hitting on 3s. 17 hits, wounding on 3. 6s do 2 mortal wounds.
Gross.
Oof.
Oof.
That's 6 mortal wounds, Lee.
I have to make every single save now to keep one alive because I've taken 1 mortal wound already.
Okay, well, just, it wouldn't surprise me.
The way things are today, I'm just going to roll these right now.
Just roll these right here, live.
AP
about,
damage?
-2 AP, 2
make
damage
4s.
each.
It's a good roll.
Oh my god.
If I could CP it, I would, because that's incredible. But obviously they will die.
They all die. They now have a 4-up invulnerable. How exciting. I can tell Lee is scared. So, with that is the end of my turn. Things are looking great. Can Lee compound the misery on turn 3? Or can he have an absolute whiffer and can Admech come soaring back into this game? We'll be back with Thousand Suns turn 3 next. The relic is in sight. Push the advantage. Thousand Suns are looking to press home the advantage. Lee, what has been happening?
Doesn't feel like much. I've killed the guy here who was trying to do teleport homers again. Killed 1 or 2 of the priests. I've basically done a good job of running away.
If we look here...
There's a big blob of to the last in there, which is something I don't want to lose. I did use my Umbrellific Crystal in my command phase to pop those rubrics down onto that objective. That's important because it happens in the command phase. I could then put the banners on it.
Cheeky.
Which is really nice. Other than that, what I've done is put some buffs up. And I've done a little bit of mild shooting, but what we're going to go into now is the fully buffed up Contemptor into the ever so slightly weakened Laz chickens.
And they're not all going to die this time. So 16 shots, 2s, re-rolling 1s. That's lovely. That was 16 hits, and now we're wounding on 3s. 8 4-up saves. Oh my word. Oof. How many did I make?
1.
I made 1. Okay, so that's 1 dead. That's the other dead. And a bit left over.
And a mortal.
And a mortal wound, but remember my canticles are 5-up, so I'm going to do it just because screw you, Lee. Yeah, I failed that as well. Cool. Well, that would be all the Laz chickens just died. There are now some dead vanguards. The rubrics charged in here, and we're going to see if we can really pile on the misery. This lone poor chap who got shot at by the rubrics, he's left standing. On a 4, he's no longer standing.
1, 2, or 3, he's super brave.
1, 2, 3, he's super brave.
Nice. He's the opposite.
He's not feeling too brave today, so he runs away, and no one wants to sit on the objective anymore. Lee, your turn is over.
It is.
Are you feeling quite happy?
Again, it's weird. I've got rid of the chickens. Not that important, but good for moving around quite quickly and doing damage. Overall, I am quite happy with how that turn went. I'm still scoring fairly well. Obviously, I do have a lot invested in this section, so if it gets splatted, then it's going to hurt an awful lot. But yeah, overall fairly good. I think I've done a good job of shielding the rubrics there from any incoming fire. And that just leaves them to terrorise that side of the board.
Yes, and we were talking kind of about how just obviously, as we all know, points mean prizes, and the point scoring is really even to an extent, but Lee's got that advantage in terms of killing more, and I'm not sure I can pull it back. So we'll have a quick maths check and then come back maybe for Admech turn 4. So guys, as you can see, it is us, because the game is done. The scoreboard is obviously showing you that Lee is today's victor. Well done, sir.
Thank
well
you very
played.
Much.
You've finally done it.
Took a few goes.
For those who don't know, we've had the great pleasure of playing each other twice in tournaments so far. The first time it was quite a close game. Second time you managed to, well, it went down to literally last dice roll. So I was on the roll, but you've managed to do the job this time. So what do you think was different?
I think there's a couple of things. So I've learned how to use the army a little bit better now. As you've said, each game's gotten slightly closer.
Yeah.
And then the other thing really is just actually learning to protect my key assets. So quite quickly before, what I've been doing was saying, my Terminators need to go and do some work over here. And they would do that work and then they'd be obliterated.
Yeah.
So being a bit cagier, not necessarily with them today, but also with the rubrics, and trying to be very careful with the angles and the positioning. When you're playing Admech, as you know, you need line of sight. And if I could deny you that, then it gave me the best possible chance.
Yeah, I think like from the Admech perspective, if I can shoot you without really any sort of comeback, then that's going to be really important for me, because I can just keep shooting away and then also at the same time using the combat elements to put that pressure. Normally, you are just firing out all the mortal wounds.
Yes. Yeah.
And so you didn't.
No, not so much this game.
Well, let down.
I know. And I really bigged it up before the match as well. But what I found was, and this is maybe a criticism of taking to the last as a secondary, whilst it scored me the full 15 points, it did actually restrict my resources a little bit, particularly around Araman, who had so much potential mortal wound output today, but didn't get to use any of it. But what I'm learning more and more is, yes, mortal wounds are great and you should get as many of them as you can, but a lot of AP2 shooting is just as good.
Yes, it just does the job against kind of so much stuff. Key moments, what do you think?
We mentioned it on the thing, you can already tell by your reaction. For some reason, Chris decided to charge his Cerberus Raiders into my 2 Chaos Spawn. By the way, MVP of the game.
Always.
In this game,
Spawn.
they're usually terrible, but in this game, incredible. And obviously just charging them, not really doing anything, but then allowing me to fight you, kill them both, and make that huge space for those rubrics over there. And there you are really what won me the game. Yeah,
because like, from my perspective, the goal was obviously to kill those spawn, because then that whole flank would kind of like just disappear. You wouldn't have anything. I didn't think that they would die on the fight back. We mathed it out, and it comes down to having to make, on average, 3 saves, and having to make one of them.
I rolled very well on those saves as well.
And then from me, on average, I would have had 3 invons to make 5 up, and I just needed to make 1, and I failed them all. And in actual fact, I didn't have to charge them. You're right. And didn't even think at the time of how important it was, because obviously what actually happened was I just created an entire hole for the rubrics to drop in. They could shoot into my vanguard. I couldn't then shoot back with the rangers, really. They were safe for a long time, and that was quite game-changing. What do you think of the new mission then, or style?
It was really interesting, actually. I mean, firstly, to score it was quite challenging. You know, turns out we're not as good as maths as we think. Having the mechanic where you're only scoring CP if you're controlling a no man's land objective is I thought it would be more difficult than it was.
Yeah, the style of the map means you're kind of on those objectives anyway, aren't you?
I mean, it's always going to be that way with this one. I think what was more interesting was the additional primary mission objective, which was to kill a unit.
And it really played into kind of your army style, and I think it will play into a lot like the armies like the Custodes days. If you can really build your army around that kill more, that grind them down kind of thing.
Which I do take regularly anyway.
Yeah, obviously not every mission's going to be like this. This is just the one we played. But yeah, that definitely gave you quite a few extra points.
Yes.
Which was, quite handy. So, but yeah, that's us done for...
You have to repeat that. I couldn't hold it. I'm so sorry. I'm just stifling that for so long.
So there we go, guys. That is all from us today. Congratulations again.
Thank you very much. It was a good game.
It was a very good game. Very close. Like, the points were like very even the whole time.
Yeah.
It just felt like you always had
a little bit of
slight-
attrition towards the end, wasn't there?
So yeah, we'll be back on your screen soon with no doubt different armies, because we just keep buying new armies. Well, I keep
Who knows
buying
what they'll be tomorrow?
Who knows? Who knows? I'm gonna go paint some Harlequins now. But yeah, thanks a lot for joining us. If you have enjoyed, please do consider giving us a like and subscribe so we can rake in the pennies. And other than that, have a lovely Christmas and New Year. See you again soon.
Thanks all.
Take care.